mangroves are sensitive ecosystems changing dynamically in response to storms, sediment blockage, and fluctuations in the sea level. Over the recent past, there's been numerous efforts to save the mangrove. Some organizations such as Kwetu have been actively conserving through planting the mangroves and encouraging natural regeneration of mangroves. Natural regeneration meaning the mangroves regrow themselves, as George explains.
It has got fruit. Those fruits, they get fertilized while they're still on the mother plant. Yeah. So we have got that type of reproduction where we have got the oviparous, we have got the viviparous, we have got the viviparous, and so for the rhizophora has got the viviparous, where the germination, the fertilization takes place while still on the attached to the mother plant. So when it produces that propagule, we call it the propagule, or it's a fruit, but we call it propagule because it is already something which has gone fertilization, and so we call it propagule. So once it drops down, it sticks there and then start germinating already. So you don't need to go maybe and plant a seed or something like that. So it drops directly from the plant, from the mother plant to the ground, and then it starts off growing.
When it comes to planting mangroves, there are various things that one needs to keep in mind. The first is the site selection. This will be the home and the heart of the mangroves, and it needs to be as great as the mangroves need it to be.
First of all, you have to find a site. How do you find a site? A site where mangrove can grow far away from competition. That's why majorly they are in the seaward or they are being found on the oceans because of the competition with the terrestrial plants. Terrestrial plants, those are the ones on the uplands, not on the oceans. So there's less competition at the ocean or near the ocean shore. There's less competition with other plants. So when you want to establish a mangrove garden, you have to consider which part, or is this soil, type of soil, very capable to hold or to grow mangroves. For example, we majorly take the muddy clay soil, which is very relevant for the production or for the growth of mangrove. So the most important thing you have to consider is which type of soil am I going to use for the mangrove and where they are. Is there a competition with other plants, or there's no competition?
All mangrove species cope differently with excess salt that is readily found in seawater. This is despite the fact that all mangroves to some degree exclude salt at their roots or secrete salt through their leaves. The black mangrove, for instance, is highly adept at excluding salt in its roots, but secretes poorly through its leaves. It is therefore important for anyone getting into mangrove farming to keep this factor in mind, as George elaborates.
You consider the water source. Is the water source, is it a fresh water or is it a salty water? So if it's a fresh water, then how am I going to manage to prevent the competition? Because if it's a fresh water, automatically other plants will flourish in fresh water environments. So if you get other plants flourishing, which means you've not met the first condition, which is competition. So you've already introduced other competitors in the environment. So which type of, is there enough supply of whatever, even if it is brackish water, I mean the one a little bit saline, yeah, not much so saline. Iko na chumvi, yeah, not lesser than the one for the ocean salt. So is this water, can this water support my mangroves, or will it not support, or will it support also the growth of other plants in my mangrove or in my mangrove nursery?
Behind these trees, there's a mangrove nursery establishment. These nurseries have to be established since they serve as the source of planting materials for different mangrove species. There are also a few things to keep in mind during the nursery establishment, including water quality.
So if you want to establish a nursery for the mangroves, you still will consider the type of soil. You still will consider the soil substrate is very important, because once you have got a salty substrate, oh, not salty, sorry, we have got a sandy substrate, you find that it may not be easy for the mangrove to develop that easily. So you have also to get that type of soil, which we just said earlier. Yeah, the type of the muddy clay soil. So for you to establish your nursery, also watering or the water source, you also have to make sure that your nursery have got enough water supply.
Mangrove seeds are technically called propagules. Unlike other plant seeds, mangrove propagules germinate while still on the tree, as George enlightened us. However, the case may be different for new mangrove farmers.
You can get seedlings from us, Kwetu Training Center, because we have got a nursery for the mangrove, majorly for the rhizophora. So we have got the seedlings. You can get the seedlings from Kwetu Training Center for you to start your mangroves.
Just like any other crop, there are various factors that one needs to consider when transplanting the propagules. One vital consideration is the sunshine. The mangroves need an area with a lot of sunshine. It is also important for you to note which mangrove does best in the best zone.
Take maybe from 60 centimeters to 1 meter. That's very ideal before the rooting system becomes that complex. So before the rooting system becomes complex, because when it becomes complex, you need to break the rooting system. So when your mangrove, the rooting system is not that so complex, you can start your transplanting.
If you're transporting the mangrove seedlings, it is important to ensure you use the shortest distance as possible. This will aid in easier transplanting.
You have to take care of the seedlings, and maybe if where you are going is you are transplanting in a far place, you have to take control of that so that the seedlings will not be cut by any other or may not get injuries.
Unlike planting other trees or crops, mangroves do not require fertilizer. All the nutrients they need is in the water. Therefore, using the fertilizer will only be a waste of time.
Now we want to plant our seedlings, and we are on the site. First of all, you have already selected the site. Yeah, to take care of your seedlings, let's say that they have reached safely, there's no injury, there's no cut. So first you dig your hole. Yeah, you dig your hole where you want to plant. You make sure it is a very good hole, like 30 centimeters to 60 centimeters down, so that all the rooting system all the rooting system is covered down inside the soil. So you have to make sure that it is that deeper and maybe some over 30 centimeters wider to give that space. Yeah.
Tending to the mangroves as they grow requires little effort. All one needs to do is to take a daily walk around the premises. George likes to take a walk on this wooden board on his way to look after the mangroves.
Your trees, if there may be any other competing trees around that may interfere with their growth, so the much care is not that so much demanding on the care. Yeah, no. It's not so much demanding on the care, but care is also important for maybe monitoring how their growth. How is it there anyone interfering with the trees? Is there any other animals that may interfere with their growth? So it's just very important to take that to do the monitoring to ensure that your crops or that your mangrove trees are well and growing in a better condition.
As a poverty eradication and life standard improvement initiative along the Kenyan coast, Kwetu, in collaboration with various development partners, has been able to reach out to communities along the coastal regions, from South Coast all the way to North Coast. Currently, there are over 15 community groups being supported on silver fisheries activities. However, this has not come without its own share of challenges and benefits.
The challenges, is that most of the society or the community don't value the mangrove trees. If they see the mangrove trees, they see a form of fuel, they see a form of wood for maybe poles for building and also such. So even if you plant yourself, you may know the importance of the mangrove. The mangrove play in the ecosystem, but someone else may not know the importance or doesn't know the importance that the mangrove plays in an ecosystem. So he may come and just do away with with the mangrove which you have planted, or we do away with the seedlings that you have planted, because it doesn't have that understanding on the importance of mangrove in the ecosystem. Yeah, so the one of the importance of the mangrove ecosystem or the mangrove forest in the coastal region, one we said earlier as buffers. Second, from acting as buffers, they also play an important role in the fisheries. How do they play an important role in fisheries? Mangrove areas or mangrove forests, they are majorly being used, or they are majorly rich in nutrients, rich in food for fish. They also act as refuge for the smaller fish or fingerlings. So when they come to the mangrove area, they seek refuge from the wild predators. So when they're still small, the fingerlings, let me use that term, they come to the mangrove to seek refuge, so that they're running from the predation on the open seas. So when they offer that refuge for the fish, and when that encourages production, more of the fish production in the ocean by providing that refuge. Some also act as maybe breeding grounds for fish. So we find that in the fisheries is very important, is very important in the fisheries department.
As George clocks his 6 months with Kwetu, he shares with us that he has found his heart and passion in mangrove conservation and community engagement.
I'm so much in love with the environmental conservation. So when I came to Kwetu and find that they also focus, they put more focus on the environment and to ensure that we live in a healthy environment, then I said, wow, I've reached home. So I'm home, and I consider myself that fortunate, because I've found where people care for my love. Yeah, my love for environment, so I found where it is being taken care of, that conservation part. Yeah.
George shares with us his nuggets of wisdom on conservation agriculture and silver fisheries.
As a Kwetu Training Center, we can make it as the coastal community, and we can do we can make tomorrow become better, if only we'll come out and do whatever we know, or share whatever we know with the others.
Remember that just as flowers need time to bloom, so do you. That's all we had for you today on Fish Business. Keep it KTN Farmers TV.